All right. All right, welcome to this video. We're at a little different setting today and we're going to be going through the old whiteboard training. The difference between sales agencies and sales operators like myself. So, most founders typically kind of think that they just need some more closers or someone just to kind of come in and, just handle some of the heavy lifting. The difference here, though, is that they actually need someone who is going to be able to build them a team. And the key there is build them a team, right? That will print cash without them having to manage them, without them being in the room. And that's the difference between hiring a sales agency and bringing in a real operator, okay? Because one will basically just give you manpower, but it's temporary and will break all of it down. The other will build you a machine, okay? And that is exactly what we're going to be going through here today. Let's dive on in. And I almost forgot to say, just before we do dive in, I have ran sales teams for very big names in the space. I kind of name drop them in the previous videos. I don't really like to do that too much, okay? But I have seen behind the curtain of basically every type of setup, okay? From random agencies that are just lending out their closers to actual true embedded leadership, okay? And that has allowed me to have a very strong pulse on what actually works for businesses and for business owners in terms of longevity, okay? Because sales agencies are more and more common in the space and it's very tempting, but there are a lot of drawbacks to it. And I want to make sure that you have clarity as a business owner to what you're actually getting into because I've seen it go wrong, okay? So that's what we'll be diving into. Let's fucking crack in for real this time. Okay, so sales operator, okay, as in fractional sales management. That is your growth insurance policy. Now, why? A sales agency, okay, the main model of it is that everything is theirs. Okay, the team is theirs, they'll often implement the CRM, everything, okay? So what happens as a result, okay? We get basically an instant gratification win. Boom, everything's good to go. We've got a team ready to go, everything's set up, the CRM's optimized, oh my god, life is amazing. The issue there is that it is literally just having guns for hire. And whilst it sounds great, we are literally banking our entire revenue generation on an external arm. What happens if you guys have an argument? What happens, which I've seen so many times, what happens if, the end of the relationship just kind of comes? All of a sudden, the people that are printing you money go. Everything falls apart, okay? So it is often an immediate win, but it's not the longevity grower of your business, okay? And that is where we come in here on the sales operator side and the fractional sales management, okay? Because everything is owned by them. So the difference here is that with a sales operator, you are getting a real leader into your business, okay? Because like I've said before, most of the time you won't get an absolute stud of a sales manager that is coming in and just going to manage one singular offer, okay? They've got the skill set, they've got the knowledge, they have like everything that's ready to go. They've got their processes down to a T. So you have a real leader that comes in to your business, strategy, systems, and they're thinking of scale. And as a result, we then normally have a network. So then we bring in reps, but they are hired into your business. They're hired into your brand, okay? As a result, the culture is built within your team as opposed to in their team. They have no allegiance to you in this situation. They have all the allegiance to the agency owner, which is asking for trouble, okay? The thing here is that they are coming in with long-term buy-in to your results, not just a short-term fee grab, okay? The biggest thing is that agencies will basically temporarily sell you results and sell you some closers and just kind of, do what needs to get done. Fractionals will actually build you a company, okay? And that is the biggest thing that you need to bear in mind with this model. Okay, so one of the biggest issues that you will find with the sales agency model is this right here. Are you a priority? Because they may have multiple clients, okay? And obviously, you are gonna be less of a priority the less money that you bring in for them. So a lot of agencies, they'll work on a percentage basis. They might have some upfront as well, but they'll often work for percentage. If as they start to place in your team and they get you some immediate wins, because you'll get some immediate wins, but if there's other offers that are performing at a better rate and bringing them more money in, they're going to prioritize those. They're going to make sure that the better reps are on those ones. They're going to make sure that everything is basically centered around the thing that's going to bring them the most amount of money. Compared to the fractional model where I will come in, I will build out everything that is physically needed, and I will find reps that are going to be bought into your brand. I want people, and that's how I interview. I do 2-stage interviews. One is culture and just a vibe check. The second one is like a very skills-based one. Then we will normally kind of take it to like a 3rd stage depending on the role, especially if it's closer, where we'll do more of the kind of mock calls, or I'll go through calls with him and do reviews, or I'll make him go through some of the calls from the other closers and get him to give feedback on how he would have changed it, whatever it might be. But my goal is to actually find you people that are bought into you, not just being fucking rented out, because that is the only way that your business will scale and then continue to grow. Right? If I'm out of the picture, the goal is to have your business still grow, right? Because I can come in and I can place a fucking manager for you once you reach a certain amount of revenue, right? Because if your goal is just to not have to manage the sales team, that can still happen with fractional. A sales agency sells you that pipeline dream. It's like, well, you're not gonna have to touch anything. We handle everything, right? So then you like live in the dream until one day they decide, you guys aren't really worth our bandwidth and our team. I'm just gonna pull the plug, and then your fucking CRM goes, all of your reps go, so you just completely tank. Your revenue goes from, let's say, 300K a month to fucking, I don't know, 50K just because you had some random follow-up deals. Like, it's absurd. Okay, so this is the biggest thing that you want to bear in mind. Okay, you want to find someone that's actually going to come in, that's actually going to hire reps, that has a strong network of people, but they're not blindly following the person. Right? They might follow, for example, someone might follow me because they're like, okay, this person's touched this offer, he's running it right now. That means it has a ton of potential, but I'm gonna search for the people that are bought in towards growing inside of a role, not just being a part of an agency model, okay? And then whilst I'm rubbing this out, I want you to realize really all of these other areas, right? You've got a shared Google Drive. You've got all of these different trackers maybe that the sales agency is using, but all of it just turns to nothing. So it is just all about quick, instantaneous wins that have no long lasting, okay? It's literally like, sleeping with the hottest person on earth, but they are the least marriage material whatsoever, but you're like, I'm gonna pop a ring to them anyway, and then they just fuck your life up. So basically, the other thing that I wanna talk about, and we're just gonna keep kind of going on rants, but like hiring reps, okay? I actually get people message me all the time, hey, could you find reps for me? I'll give you a placement fee, etc. And I always tell them, I'm okay, thanks. There's a few reasons. People are being coached by me, they want to learn from me, and then they often want to be parts of teams that I've touched, okay? Like, oh, he's come in, he's running it for, the next 3 months, he's scaling it, I want to be a part of that. The issue that we have here is that, like, if I'm not a part of it, I don't know what I'm placing them into, and as a result, I'd prefer just to not kind of lose credibility, because if I put a job posting up, reps that see that have been coached by me are like, okay, this is going to be a good offer. Whereas if I start to go down the rep placement route, it's not the case. Now, there are tons of people that you can hire that will charge you, I don't know, 1K, 2K, 3K, 4K, whatever it might be, for a closer, for example. There are also models that then take a percentage of whatever they collect as well, okay? So one that I heard recently is like 6%. So you're paying, let's say 1K, you're paying 1K for a sales rep, then whatever money they bring in, you're paying 6%. It's gonna start stacking up. And then all of a sudden you come back and you're like, well, actually things are starting to grow. I need a second closer. So then you drop another grand, and then you're giving away 12% of what money's being collected. And before you know it, it's like, I should have just paid a decent amount more for someone like myself, who's in fractional, to just come in. And if you needed 7 closers and fucking 24 setters, I'm gonna find them for you for the same fucking price, okay? And this is really the biggest thing, is like, it's the misconception. It's the opportunity cost. And this is, everything in sales is opportunity cost, okay? So it's this feeling of like, well, I can get a rep for 1K, because this at the time doesn't feel like anything. It's gonna stack up. It really is, especially if you keep getting more reps, okay? And this number just keeps increasing, and it's 6, and it's 12, and it's 24, and it's ridiculous. You're giving away so much of your money without the long-term plan in place. So most of the time when I come in and I do fractional, it's for like 3 months with the potentiality to continue working if that relationship has been very strong. We gel very well together, and we can see that long-term vision of the continuation of scaling, okay? But for me, if we got to the end of the 3 months and I have added, let's just make it easy maths, another 100K per month to your revenue, I want you to think how much money you've made across a year even this is not the price that I would charge, but even if I charged you 100 grand up front, right, for 3 months, if I've solved a 100 grand per month problem, and then as a result, you're getting that times 12 and you're doing like 1.2 mil, I've literally made you 1.1 million, okay? So this feels like, oh my God, this is so much money, but this is so much money. And this is the misconception, okay? We don't think long term with the business plays. The biggest thing here that I would say is if you feel like you have a business model that actually isn't too ethical, maybe doesn't have its fulfillment and deliverabilities actually tied in, like deliverables, sorry, the sales agency is probably actually better for you because quick cash grab, pump it out, and I've seen offers like this, then they just dip out. They make a fuck ton of money and they dip the hell out of it. If you actually have a business that you want to scale and it's long term, and maybe there's even the potentiality to exit it at some point because it's a fucking good business model, the route you want to go is something like this, okay? And literally, the comments and feedback that I get from people when I take over is game changer because I'm so on the pulse. Constant communication, constantly letting them know what's happening, building out game plans, all of these things, which you just won't really get at the same level with an agency. You're almost a little blind to what's happening, which is kind of nice to begin with until it's not nice. And then you're feeling a bit lost and they go and you're like, shit, I don't even know how to run this business, okay? So this is, I mean, the scribblings of a madman, but this is one of the main points that I really wanted to get across, okay? So, all that to say, and I can keep going more and more in depth on these topics, but all that to say is like, really know what you're getting into, okay? Because a sales agency can be a fantastic model, but it is with risks, okay? And anything comes with risks, but in my opinion, I've seen sales agency partnerships go very badly, okay? The best thing with this is that the goal here is to really build this out in an ethical way, okay? So if you are in a position where you are, looking to build your high ticket offer and you want to do it for longevity, not just for a quick, pump and dump, okay? I install the structure, the leadership, and the standards that will make high ticket teams unstoppable, okay? So that you don't have to deal with all of the churn. You have everything that you would need to just continue that standard that has been set, because that's the thing that you'll see, right? I took on a client very recently, and that's one of the things that you wanted to learn, which I love, which is like, okay, I want to see how you run meetings and how you hold the team accountable and how you instill leadership. Because once we have that reference point, the team have risen to that level and then we can maintain it, right? Because with that, that's how we can really start to scale. If you just have a sales agency, and I actually know a lot of teams that will have a sales agency doing some form of the sales and then an internal sales team, and it's so messy because there's like this weird little disconnect compared to this is your team. We've been building your team. They don't need to be managed by you because they're getting managed and they're being built up to the standards so that they can almost manage themselves. So then, if for whatever reason you're like, hey, my work here is done, I'm living the dream, then you can kind of go on your own and focus from there. And we can place a sales manager for you or whatever it might be, okay? So I wanted to keep this somewhat short and sweet. I don't know how long this has been, but that is some of the biggest differences there. So just weigh them all up, okay? You have your fractional side, you have your sales agency side, and you have your rep for placements, okay? This one can make sense if you literally know, hey, I need one closer who's going to be a stud, and then I'm just going to leave him to do his thing, and we won't need another closer for months and months and months. If there's any risk of that not being the case as you continue scaling, it doesn't make sense, okay? The other risk to it is that, like, they have just come from like a rep placement type thing, right? They're kind of in that infrastructure, so they probably don't have allegiance to you. That might not be the case. I don't know so much about like what the quality of the reps are like in this type of scheme. I'm just more concerned about the payment plus the percentage that you have to give out, okay? So really weigh up your options because there's going to be a different thing that makes the most amount of sense for your business. But with that being said, my goal is to take over any sales teams that are doing at least 100K per month and scale them violently by placing A-player closers, completely rebuilding out the pitch, doing some of the highest level core reviews that you'll probably lay your fucking eyes on, optimizing show up rate, really going deep in the weeds on all of these various different things to ensure that we get the maximum amount of juice, okay? Alongside that, I have a lot of strange methodologies to really get a team that is pushing like you will have never seen before. Because honestly, if you have that piece alone, your offer will scale violently. Alongside all the other things that I mentioned, you are good to go, okay? Those are the big dominoes that I knock over within like the first month of joining on an offer and scaling. After that, it is fine tuning, fine tweaking, and really just getting everything moving even further and even faster, okay? With that being said, I am gonna bounce because it is 10 p.m. on a Sunday. The grind never stops, apart from when you drop your pen. Peace and love. I will catch you all soon.